Hello, this is going to be a Valorant 5.08 agent tier list. We're going to start off with duelists. It's going to be mainly focused on competitive play and high tier rank play, and it's going to be all my opinion from what I've played and what I've watched. We're going to start off with duelists. We're going to go with Raze first in the A tier. So Raze is kind of like what you want from the duelist. I think she's literally. I think she's my highest rated duelist. She can take space. She can defend space. She kind of does everything you want it to do. Her nade can push people off angles. It can keep zones just by threatening the fact that you have nade. She can go in quite fast with satchels. She can maneuver in the map with satchels. Good vertical and horizontal mobility with them. Everything about her is really, really strong. To be honest, for a duelist, anyway. And that kind of makes it, in my opinion, the best duelist. And then we've got Jett, and Jett goes into the B tier for me. And this might be like a hot take, I guess. And this was kind of the same, I think, for my last tier list. But I think she's the second best in the slot that she's in, which is the kind of operator type, free, free jewel type, where she will try and take a jewel and then dash away, similar to the way you see Chamber and maybe Reyna. And I think she's like the second best in that slot. But I also don't think she's for that reason. I also don't think she's as good as some of the important parts of Raze and Neon, which are she's not as good at those agents as getting into sites. She definitely is good, decent enough, right? And she can replace. She's definitely better than Chamber and Reyna at doing that. So that's the reason why I think she's at least better than Reyna. And that's why I think she's kind of like a jack of all trades type duelist, where she can kind of do a little bit of everything, but she doesn't really excel at one thing. If anything, she's basically a slightly worse version of Chamber, which means you can argue maybe she's like one of the best. It's like that's like her main strength is her operator play and free kill potential or free duel potential. But overall, I think she's very much a jack of all trades type agent. Or type duelist, not really agent, but type duelist. Okay, we're going to go with Neon next. And Neon is kind of like the version of Raze that's very more vertical focused. So she's very, very strong when she either gives, or when either the map gives her the opportunity to be vertical, so like Icebox with the ropes, or the map doesn't require her to be vertical, kind of like Breeze, where a lot of the map is horizontal. She doesn't need to reach higher positions, and if she does, then the map allows it. And I think she's the fastest agent in the game, right? She's also very, very strong at taking places by herself. A lot of the time she was played with Breach to help her take space, but I think people have realized that you don't need Breach anymore. Either that is through people being more proficient at Neon, or just the fact that Breach was getting played before Neon arrived, and people mistakenly thought that Neon needed Breach when she clearly doesn't. And we'll talk about that when we go over to Breach, but she is basically very fast and help you take sites immensely quickly. And I think she's the second best duelist for taking sites. Yoru next. So Yoru's in the B tier, but he's not really like the other duelists. He's very much about creating plays in advance. He wants to use the full round to kind of trick his opponent. And he also used multiple rounds prior to trick the opponent in the current round. So what I mean by that is that he may do like this certain play, and then maybe not next round, but the round after, he'll do the same play, but he'll mix it up somehow. And that's like a very general thing for a lot of other agents. And for Yoru, because he's a duelist, it's very, very different, and especially because he's a very different agent overall. It's very, very different for Yoru the way you do that. Where you can like trick your opponent, the opportunity, the options he has to do that is quite strong, as long as the player knows what they're doing with him. And also it requires the not just the Yoru player to know what he's doing, but it requires the teammates to know how to play with the Yoru, at least in competitive. In ranked, it's obviously a bit more free flowed, a bit more free because people don't fully understand the game properly anyway, and like work as a team as coordinated. But yeah, I think Yoru's pretty strong, and he's very, very different duelist. I think he was like conversion to semi-initiator was a very good idea for Riot to do, and I actually would like him to become a full initiator at some point. Very, very weird how initiator would have TPs though, so I wonder what they're going to do with him in the future. Then we've got Reyna. So Reyna originally was going to go to F tier for me. Wait, why is this F and that's C? I didn't delete a tier, so why is it like that? B, C, D, E, S, A, B, C, D. Why is this F and not D? I mean, I just realised that. That's stupid. Okay. And the fact that I have to do the alphabet to know that D's here. Okay, well, I clearly am stupid. Okay. So Reyna is C. Because I think she is probably the worst of the 3 kill type slots. So what I mean by that is the Chamber, Reyna, and Chamber, Jet, and Reyna. As of those 3, I'm going to pick Chamber or Jet. I'm never going to be picking Reyna, because Reyna is way too high risk. She requires kills way too much. It's way too inconsistent. So basically, the floor of Reyna is way too high to ever warrant picking her. Because it just takes way too much mechanical skill, and to be way too consistent to a point where you're not really human anymore. It's just not really that possible to be that consistent to make Reyna work. Like, if Ye isn't picking Reyna, then no one's picking Reyna. In my opinion, maybe Jing can pick it. You know, he's allowed, because he is really good too. But overall, like, if I'm looking at the game, she's just not worth picking because her util is lackluster. That's maybe even too generous. And it requires way too many kills to be useful. Okay, so next one is going to be Phoenix. This is going to be the same tier. This is kind of semi-ordered, but I wouldn't go too much in terms of like the actual order in the tiers. The tiers itself obviously is ordered, but the actual within the tiers, I wouldn't go too much on it. Like, I would basically say there's a lot of side grades in there anyway within the tiers, and obviously grading between grading between the actual classes themselves and the slots themselves can be of just like a difficult cast, or maybe difficult task, or maybe even impossible. Like, really get like a solid like comparison down. So don't worry too much about the orders within there, but I will order them a tiny bit. So Phoenix is very reliant on getting orbs. His flashes were really nice. The changes were great for his fast flashes. And I think overall he is not in a bad position, especially for ranked. But I think in competitive, his slot is very contested because you won't play him as a normal duelist. He's very much like that initiator type, where he wants to kind of fit him in like kind of like an initiator kind of role. Especially because he has kind of initiator type abilities. He doesn't really fit into the duelist category a massive amount. And sometimes you might see play, but I think overall he is pretty weak. He's very good in ranked though, I think. At least decent in ranked, depending on like what map you're playing. I think he's actually surprisingly good on Fracture, because he can get so many orbs, at least in ranked. So I would try playing me on Fracture. Okay, so for controllers, we're going to do Astra. So Astra's B, and she's just overall pretty hard to play. It requires a lot of knowledge on the Astra player side, and also requires her teammates to be able to play with her. So as an Astra player, you probably want to be communicating a lot, and you want your teammates to kind of understand what they want to do with Astra, or what you want to do with Astra, and you need to be able to communicate that. I think overall she really got hurt by having 1 less star. It means you have to be a lot more selective what you do, and that you're a lot more limited to what you can do in the whole round. But I think overall she's not bad. I think overall she can struggle a bit on defense now, with the lack of 1 star. And I think attack she can struggle if you want to try and fake things and stuff like that. And if you want to try and take space, like, you've got like 1 less opportunity to do that, on both sides. So I think overall she is struggling compared to the operators or the controllers right now, because her purpose or like some of her strength has been taken away. We go on to Brimmy next, who I'm going to put in A tier, which may be a bit of a surprise actually. Maybe he's a bit too high, but for me personally, I think he is pretty strong. I think he's the strongest controller, aside from one other, Viper. I think he's got decent control of bombs like decent threat onto the enemy with his ult. Whenever his ult is up, it's very hard to sort of play against him if you're on attack or defense, because he can do quite a lot of things with it. He can ult very congested places and maybe get a free kill if they can't get out. Sort of like lamps on bind, right? It's a very solo queue type of use of his ult. Or you can use it to stall out the round with his combination of molly as well. And it can be very frustrating to play against, because it's very guaranteed in a sense, where he can sort of stall out for, I don't know, like, I don't know how many seconds it is actually. It's maybe 12 or 15. Could be wrong. I think it's 12. 12 seconds, where you can stall out completely. It may be actually longer than that, because you can like get them to diffuse up to like 3 seconds. So yeah, maybe it is actually 15. Actually, it could technically be 6 seconds, but you know, okay, that's maybe another discussion for another time. But he's got like pretty decent ways to rotate to on defense with his stim beacon. His smokes aren't the worst. I think they're the longest lasting, but they're a bit inflexible, I would say. Obviously he's actually got more flexible smokes than 2 other agents, but one of them has a massive strength going for them, and the other one not so much. So yeah, that's basically Brim. We're going to move on to Harbor. So Harbor I struggled to place, mainly because he's only a week and something old, right, for competitive, or for rank, sorry. And he's been played once or twice in competitive, like competitive, I guess, in quotations. It's been like a show match. So I originally put him B on my plan for this. And I'm going to keep him there, but I'm not 100% sure. He could be C. I think he's not very strong, basically. I'm going to keep him B for the safe side, I think. So he's very difficult agent overall to understand how to use properly. He's very ingrained in his positioning, where he needs to have good positioning to actually get a good wall. Otherwise, you can actually risk messing yourself up or messing teammates up. He also needs to kind of understand how his shield needs to be used. And it's even more important for that smoke to be, or his cove to be used in a very good way compared to other smokes, because it's not really a true smoke. It's more essentially, I would say it's more akin to Sage's wall than it is to actual smokes. And the reason why I say that is because when the shield dies, the smoke goes down, right? And I feel like that's going to be one of his buffs. So one of his buffs might end up being that his smoke stays up despite the shield going down. I think that's going to be one of his buffs coming in. I think that's like almost guaranteed that that's going to be a buff. I think it's almost guaranteed, because I think he really needs that. Because right now it's more akin to Sage Wall, and that can make it very weak, because it's like a massive hitbox for 500 health, which is like, I know, I'm not sure how many, but I think it's 13 Vandal bullets. Could be wrong there, but it might be 13 Vandal bullets where shield goes down, which honestly sounds like a lot, but it's not that much, especially if there's multiple people shooting it, from even both sides. And some of the ways to use it as well are very difficult, or at least for ranked players to understand. I think in competitive he can be maybe strong. We'll have to see. I haven't seen any proper competitive competitive games being played on him yet. We'll have to see. I'm not sure if he's going to be strong enough to even make it into competitive games, to be honest. The one thing that I think is really good about him is his front wall, and like his normal wall, and his like, I can't remember what it's called, Cascade, I think, where it's like the wall that he sends forward. I think those 2 abilities are actually good, but I think his cove kind of lets him down a bit, with sort of like the way it's used, and like the way you have to use it is kind of awkward, and not even going to be useful every round, to be honest. And his ult is lackluster for a controller. It's not as guaranteed impact as a normal controller ult is. So if you think about it basically like this, like Brim, Astra, Viper have very impactful ults that have a very guaranteed purpose. Omen literally has one of the worst ults in the game, so I don't really compare. Like, I mean, I guess you can kind of compare it, right? But I would always think like controller ults tend to be very guaranteed value, and Omen ult and Harbor ult don't fit that. So maybe that's like kind of like a thing for controllers where some have that, some don't. But to me, like, I feel like controller ults should be a lot more guaranteed impact, even more so than initiator ults. Maybe a bit controversial there on design philosophy, but that's personally the way I would see it. And Harbour doesn't really have that guaranteed value in his ult as well. He's very, it's kind of like a bit all over the place, a bit too much. Like it wants to do more than it should. Like it does a bit too much of everything. Like it can find you people, tries to stun them, and moves forward. Like it's a bit too much. It does too much and doesn't really confine itself to a good purpose. And I think that's kind of one of the problems with his ult. And they may change that, so they may make it so either the stun is more guaranteed or it doesn't reveal them anymore, but it stuns in the massive radius every time. That might be a bit too strong though, thinking about breach ult. Basically just power creep to breach ult. But let's be real, everything power creeps breach ult. Fade ult, Harbour's ult is probably even actually, it's debatable whether Harbour ult's better than Breach's ult. I think it's might be worse. Okay, that's also, once again, a discussion for another time. So we're going to Omen next. We're rambly this video. I'm going to put Omen in B tier as well. So Rollers are all in B tier. And he's kind of just, he's kind of better, like a different version of Brim, I would say, where he's kind of like the other side of the same coin, where he's kind of like Brimmy's really good at attacking sites and then holding areas with his ult and like stalling for time on attack, right, when you've got the bomb down. And he's really good at stalling against attacks. And Omen's kind of like a different thing where he is pretty good at defending positions, but not stalling, if that makes sense. He's really good at like defending positions directly, so when they actually start to come out, he's not stalling them, but he wants to actively fight them. And that's kind of what he's good at, and he's kind of good at also taking positions by himself, or like joining his team that maybe have gone far forward, like a Neon or a Raze. He's very good at like joining them in attacking positions. So he's like extreme version of Brim, or like maybe a more proactive version of Brim, where he is a lot more active against the enemy, which technically, in my opinion, does make him a tiny bit worse. But I think overall, like he is still not bad. Like his paranoia is decent. His smokes are okay, especially with KO being good. It can be like I guess it's sort of like a side grade. Like the enemy KO can use your smokes fairly well, but so can your KO. So, yeah, I don't think he's bad by any means. But I just don't think he's good. He's definitely not better than Brim. His ult is terrible. He just needs a better ult, I think. Or maybe some buffs to his other abilities to keep his ult the same. Going to go into Viper next. So Viper's my first S tier. So the reason why Viper's S tier is because even though she can be a bit awkward for some of her smoke placements and stuff like that, right? She's very rigid in the way that she's played, right? You have to use the wall for the rest of the round. Once you've placed it, you have to go pick up your smoke if you want to move it. And you have to know lineups to smoke off particular things. I think overall she is immensely strong in doing the things that she wants to do. So if she wants to hold some space, she's very strong at doing it. Right, the decay makes sure of that. And then she's got mollies to help with that, make them fragile. And her ult is immensely strong, with really high value. Even by itself sometimes, even without any support, it can really help, especially in ranked. It's very self-sufficient type of ult. And I don't think I need to say much more about Viper. To know that, for you to know that she's good. So Breach is my first D tier. And there's another one joining him. But I think overall he's just weak. His flashes are easy to turn. His aftershock is fairly impactless. He's probably his best ability though. His fault line is, I think the problem is his fault line and his ult are just stuns. I think that's the problem. I think stuns are a bit like unreliable. And another problem with his ult is that it doesn't give any information, and the same with his fault line. If you think about some of the reoccurring abilities on other initiators, right? We can go through them all. Fade is reveal. Sova's reveal. KO can know how many people there are there, and Sky knows if someone's there or not. And then you look at Breach, and he doesn't even know that. If someone decides to stay still and tank the fault line, they don't even get any like people moving around. and that's kind of like his premise, I think, when they originally designed him, probably, is that they expected people to try and move out his fault line and give him information to, like, because they're running around, right? And I think that's the thing with his ult as well, is that they expect people to make a lot of sound when they drop, like, from being knocked up by his ult. When they actually land, that they'd make a lot of sound with their footsteps. And I think what they need to do is they need to just amplify that sound with the footsteps on his ult. That may make his ult a bit better. Obviously that may not be enough, but we'll see. And we'll see if they actually decide to change him at all. They probably should, because he's definitely by far the weakest agent in the game. He's very limited too. Very big part of him is that he's limited to the walls, the geometry of the map, which is, you know, not very great for him, considering what he's up against for battling his slot, which is KO, Sky, Sova, Fade. Probably actually more the Sky and so not the Sky, yeah, more the Sky and KO than it is the Sova and Fade. But these two agents are way too strong compared to Breach. And then we'll move on to Fade. So I think I got Fade on S tier, right? Yeah, Fade's F tier. I don't know why I had to check that. She's very clearly S tier. Her predators are just way too sensitive to movement or to agents. Like, they'll just latch onto you basically no matter what. The trails are immensely strong, because not only does it give decent information to where someone is or where someone can be, it keeps following you, and it also is a trail for the predator to latch onto. So it's like so much information in one agent. And then the decay on top with the C's and the ult. She's just immensely strong. She has her own reveal. I would actually say that the reveal is a tiny bit weaker than Sova's, but when you combine with the rest of the kit, it's so much more strong than Sova. She's so much more stronger than Sova, and it's unreal. She power creeps basically Sova. She power creeps Breach with her ult. It's just crazy how broken she is. So eventually we'll probably see her get nerfed. We've got Sova next on A tier. So the only reason why he's weak is for two reasons. So in ranked, the reasons for those two reasons are going to be his drone is too expensive, and the other reason is that Fade exists, because she's just a better version of him. Overall, I would say that the only reason why you don't pick you would pick Sova over Fade is because you probably are playing something like Breeze, where her ult doesn't get as much value, and her Fade and her Haunt range is a bit too short. And you don't really need the Prowlers and the Prowler as much compared to, like, for the same reason you don't play Sky as much on Breeze, is because her dog is limited range and Breeze is a very open map, so having a drone is actually more beneficial. So stuff like Breeze, like, that's the only time you're ever going to play Sova over Fade, at least in my opinion. Otherwise you just pick Fade. And in competitive, you can also say, like, maybe Sova ult isn't quite as impactful as Fade ult or even Breach ult. In a lot of situations, it's not as impactful. But Sova ult in ranked can be pretty strong, because it's an ult that you kind of have to be coordinated against. Not many people have great movement to dodge the Sova ult. So yeah, those kind of things don't really matter in ranked, because people just suck, basically, in ranked, in comparison to competitive play. And also the team play element can come in as well versus Sova. You can actually coordinate versus Sova a lot more easily than against some of the ults like Fades and Breaches. We got KO. So I think I got KO in A tier, sorry. Yeah, A tier. So KO is a very unique agent in the fact that he's the only one with a silence. And not only that, is that he has a combo where he can, that feels quite weird to say, but he kind of does have a combo where you can knife, and then you can ult, and then you can knife again after your ult. Obviously not completely, I don't think it's actually completely fully silencing people, but it silences people for like a very long time. And it can be immensely annoying to play against. Not only does it give him information, but it stops you from coming to a site for a good amount of time. It might be 40 seconds, I think, that actually stops you for, which is a really long time. And on top of that, he has some of the best flashes in the game still, despite the nerfs, right, to his right click, right? All it's going to take is people learning his left click flashes, which probably won't be a problem at all in ranked, in competitive. Maybe in ranked it will impact him a bit, but in competitive, I can imagine a lot of players have already got good lineups for his flashes, even before the changes, and they've only been rewarded for knowing these lineups. I know I have, because I know some as well. Although it does stop him from kind of doing those right click annoying flashes through smokes. Not fully, obviously, because he can still blind you for 1 second, right? But if you are able to turn them, probably due to the KOs, honestly, misplaying the flash timing at the smoke, then you get punished as the KO for not flashing properly or at the right timing. So yeah, I mean, I think overall he didn't really get affected too much by the changes. If anything, he got buffed. And then Sky, I think Sky, I've got actually Sky B tier, but yeah, she probably is B tier. Okay, so the reason why I think she's B tier, I was thinking maybe she's A tier because she's not really that much worse than KO. But I think she's definitely worse than KO by at least a decent margin. It's not actually that bad. Sorry, it's not actually that much, little. Because it kind of feels like an in between role between Sova and KO. Where you can kind of help to give the information, and she has that kind of dog, or Tasmanian, was it Tasmanian tiger, to sort of find space, or to get space to find out, like in like some close corners, right? If you think about like Haven A short, that's how I usually think about these sort of like clearing that, like that's how I feel, like that's how I like envision like some of like the opportune situations for these kind of abilities are. And her tiger's really strong at doing that. And then when you think about like stuff like Breeze, obviously she sucks on Breeze, as I've said before. But her flashes are kind of old and outdated, right? Compared to also like her primary information tool, I would say. In fact, you might not even say it's a primary information tool. You probably actually say it's the dog. Actually, with Sky. And that you would say, like, even though her bird comes off cooldown, it doesn't really give you definitive information. It gives you that someone is there, but it could be 1+, right? It doesn't have to be just one. Unlike the KO and the Sova and Fade that can actually find direct, accurate information. Sky gives you like unfinished information, and that can make her a bit weaker than those agents. And then we move on to the Sentinels. So Sage, not really a sentinel in the true sense, in the like the normal sense, you would say, where she doesn't really, her playstyle as a sentinel isn't really like the other ones. She doesn't want to leave the space, but she wants to stop people from entering that space and punishing them for entering that space. And that's where Wall and Slows comes in, right? She wants to decentivize them coming into the space, and if they do get into the space, they should be punished by Sage directly. And her ult doesn't really make sense for that, to be honest. But I don't know why I put a C. Actually, wait, I actually did put her in the right place by accident. I didn't even refer to my thing, but yeah, I would actually say this is basically where she's meant to go. She is not bad. She's definitely really good on Icebox, as she has the wall. The wall is really, really valuable. But I think she is not really that required on other maps. And I think she has a decent place, but not a great place on other maps. And that's basically all I need to say about Sage. I think she's just very self-explanatory with how you play and where you play her. Heals are by no means required in this game, and that kind of makes her not as good, because it can be in a lot of cases a dead ability. You know, same with Sky. Is that if people get one tapped, you're not healing anyone. And yeah, that's kind of like a caveat with her. And people die in bad places, so you're not going to res anyone either. I actually think I'm more in line with something I realized recently. I think I saw an Asana stream where he was talking about how I think Sages are actually better where you just like use res as much as possible rather than to use it to like win those perfect like lined up rounds. I'm not sure if he actually agreed with that, but I did know he was talking about it. And as I didn't see the full like length of that conversation, but I do think I agree with the sentiment that you should probably just use it on cooldown as much as possible, for like either to help save rounds or to maybe give yourself more chance in a round, even though it may not be particularly winnable, or to just simply give you more economy, a better economy. I think anyway is completely fine. And I think in ranked, honestly, that's even more true than in competitive. and to just ult off cooldown as much as possible. Okay, and we're going to go with Chamber next. So Chamber's also an S tier. Probably still one of the strongest agents in the game. If I had to pick between Jett, Reyna, and Chamber, I'd obviously pick Chamber every time. He's just very, very strong, king of economy still. You don't have to buy any bullets on him on full buys, so therefore his utility cost is 200. So obviously that's like really, really strong, right? His full utility cost with full armor and a gun is either 4.1k, or with an operator it's like 5.9k. So it's like immensely cheaper than every other agent, because he's not required to buy the bullets. And yeah, he just has immensely strong ability to move around the map. He can take free fights. He has, I think I want to go over this on an individual video with the differences between Chamber and Jett, and why I think Chamber's version is so strong compared to Jett. And I think that's on Sunday is when I'm going to do that. So I won't go for exactly the differences I feel right now. I was going to say that for the video on Sunday. But essentially, I feel like Jett has a lot more pressure built into her. Like in both ways, right? So the enemy team can put more pressure on her, but she can put more pressure on the enemy team in her given area. While Chamber's a lot more map pressure wide, a lot more wide with his pressure, right? He's very, very map pressure type of agent, where he can sort of pressure you one place and then he can easily pressure you in another place fairly, like almost instantly with his TPs, right? And he's very also, and at the same time, he relieves his own pressure, and that makes him very, very strong in a way that I don't think many people see compared to Jett. And I'm going to go over that on Sunday. And I'll go over them also many other differences of the two as well. Then we got Cypher. I think Cypher is probably the worst agent in the game, tied with Breach. I think it's very impossible to kind of say which one's the worst, because they're very different agents, the way they function. And it's very, very hard to say like which one is actually the worst. You probably would argue Cypher, to be honest, because I think Breach at least does have like ways to get in, ways to stall and things like that. While cages are probably actually the best ability on Cypher. Maybe his ult. You could argue maybe his ult, but his ult is so weird that, and like so situational, that only in its very, very highs is it good. And it can basically easily be replaced by a Sky ult, and then Sky also brings like a better kit. So why would you ever pick Cypher? And the reason why you pick Cypher is that his kind of playstyle is to sort of control an area, but not fully control it, right? He wants to control it with information. He wants to know if you're there, and then he'll play retake, or he'll be a little snake and a little rat, and he'll like try and get a free kill on one of you or something if he knows you just entered the area. He won't ever like try and contest you fully, and that kind of makes him kind of weak. At least in the way that I see his playstyle. Obviously, it could be very different in attack as well. He's kind of like a rat type, where he wants to try and get into positions you don't expect him to be in, while also stopping you from entering those sort of positions. And I think that can make him pretty strong, that kind of playstyle, if he's given the tools to do it. But right now, he does not have good tools to do it. I think, honestly, one of his big changes would be giving his cyber cages a roof. And maybe giving him 3 trips, although that's also bordering on unfun territory. So we'll have to see where they decide to go with him. Maybe they want to make his ult even less points, or make it more points to make it so he doesn't need a body. But that would be kind of weird. Okay, so Killjoy. So Killjoy has some strong maps. She has Icebox and Ascent, and she's pretty weak on Breeze. But I will say her turret's pretty strong on Breeze. She is kind of like the decent option for a Sentinel, but when you're competing with Chamber for that slot, she kind of makes maybe she's not actually as weak as this. Maybe she's actually higher, because I'm just seeing her compared to Chamber, when really I should be comparing her to Cypher. Maybe she's actually kind of like a B tier, but we'll keep her a C, because I think overall she is in need of buffs, to be maybe a bit stronger when people sort of fulfill her kind of power fantasy, I guess, as you would see, as you would like, maybe the devs would talk about, like, when they're talking about the design of agents, right? What do you want the perfect scenario to be like? And, you know, you want people to walk into your setup and have a hard time living during that time. You know, deals a lot, like, you wanted to be able to deal a lot of damage and things like that. And I think she's good at doing that for now. Maybe it's because people have more figured out her setups and things. Maybe she just needs more ways to maybe she just needs more damage. She needs more lethality, or she needs more ways to mix up her rounds, to make her lethality a bit more unpredictable. So that could be a way that I go with that. But yeah, for now that's the end of the video. This is the full tier list. I think it is overall not particularly different from my last tier list, to be honest. Some very minor changes to it. I think Brim is the biggest change, potentially going up one. It might even be no, hang on. I think it might be Sova going down as well. I don't actually. I'm not sure if Sova was even S tier back then. I don't think he was. But yeah, that's it. That's it for the tier list. It's very similar. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed the video. With my thoughts. Make sure you stay tuned on Sunday. I'm going to be doing a Chamber versus Jet, and sort of what the difference is. Very deep dive stuff. So if you want to see that, then subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.